Jagadananda from Center for Youth and Social Development, and we call our center CYSD to be precise. CYSD started with a wonderful note actually. I was part of the university system working with the student youths, and in our university at that time we had 35,000 young volunteers, that is NSS, National Service Scheme. And out of 35,000 volunteers, I would certainly get at least 100 volunteers who are extremely committed, who are passionate about linking the college with a village, university with the community. But after they complete the university or their college studies, NSS days are over. And some of them were feeling very frustrated actually. And so that is the time we conceived Center for Youth and Social Development as an independent NGO which can work with these passionate, enthusiastic, committed youngsters who are interested in social development. And the center's initial work started as a kind of perspective building center, back-end support center, and mentoring the youngsters who are interested in social development and would like to develop a career in social development. So that is how CYSD began actually. And from 82 to 87, we were running a very interesting program called Young Social Entrepreneurship Development Program, in which a youngster who is interested in social development can come, and for the first 2 weeks we'll help them to understand why Odisha is poor, what is the cause of poverty, what are the structural causes of social disintegration, why unemployment persists in the rural areas. And then after the why, they would move to what is possible actually on the ground. So they will be given exposure to go to the field, see some of the work which other NGOs are doing, and then they come back. And then the last 2 weeks would be helping them with skills, how to facilitate a good meeting with the community, how to identify the problems and issues which are confronted by the community, and then build up a program in partnership with the community. So that is how those social entrepreneurship volunteers are mainly now key players in the voluntary sector in Odisha. And I am very happy and proud about it. You see, Odisha's topography is very interesting actually. Right? This is a state where almost about 64 types of tribal communities stay, or Adijatis, you know. And this is a state also with a big coastline, prone for all kinds of disasters, from flood to cyclone to, tornadoes and fire disasters. And our West Odisha is a drought-prone zone where droughts also come occasionally. So, in a topography of this kind and size, when CYSD decided to really get into groundwork, the community-led development work on the ground zero, the youngsters living in the tribal areas of Odisha, they would have two opportunities. One is, if they would have some small land holdings, so they are either small and marginal farmers, or they are dependent on the forest resource. So forest-based livelihood, agriculture-based livelihood, these are the two possibilities in which they can survive. When we started going there, and our volunteers also span to those tribal areas, our first job was to how do we identify local youngsters coming from the community who are able to identify their own issues identify their own priorities and also decide what is they can do and which are the areas where they need support from the government and the deficits where they would like to work with CYSD. So that is how we started. And today I am very happy that there are more than 2,000 youngsters who are young community leaders who are based in their village, based in their hamlets, based in their habitations and very remote habitations, and yet they have a passion, they have a desire, they have a commitment, and they have sufficient motivation to do something for their own community. What else you need? We work with them actually. We work with them to help them to critically analyze their own problems through a structured, what you call capacity building program, which we call, or you can call them a training program, which runs almost about 15 days, spread over a period of 15 months. So they come for a day, then they go back, come back again for reflection, and then they go back. And today they are the most important and critical mass of change agents for which CYSD is able to do such a lot of work across the state in selected backward pockets and mostly in the aspirational blocks. And because we were working with youngsters, so all throughout we had training programs of different kinds, different sizes and different perspectives. So we wanted to, the first training center came up in Bhubaneswar, and which is called Development Resource Training Center, in which the development sector, especially NGOs and other civil society organizations, they use the center, and we also conduct our own training programs. But having said so, we realized the real chunk of the training is happening in the tribal hinterlands of South Odisha or North Odisha. And it's not easy to, bring people from far off districts like Malkangiri or Koraput, which is extremely south. And similarly, Mayurbhanj, which is the other extreme end in the North Odisha, we had a very substantive engagement with the youngsters and with the community leaders there. So therefore we located the North Center in Kapundi village, right, which is a farmers training center, which is a young community leaders training center, their own reflection center. And at the same time, when farmers come, they would like to see what is the kind of agroecology practices which we are doing, so that, together we can learn from each other. We can learn from their field, they can learn from the reflection center, what is possible, what is not possible, what is doable, what is not doable. So it's a farmer training center for young farmers. And similarly in the Mundaguda, that is far off South Odisha in Koraput district, right? The southern district community leaders of CYSD, they take advantage of that training center, and others also take advantage of that, And then these two training centers, they offer very rare possibilities of looking at agroecology practices, natural farming practices, integrated farming practices, rain-fed agriculture practices, so that there is a range of practicum which they can pick up while they come for their training on leadership, on community mobilization, on whatever you call them. And we are very happy that they are located in such remote areas. Government also uses them, other government flagship programs, also they find the training center very useful to them, and we are very happy that they are there. This second dimension of CYSD work is working in the disaster affected areas. So disaster affected areas require another set of skills, competencies, knowledge and perspectives. So we pick up those youngsters from the coastal areas who come for disaster preparedness training, especially the community-based disaster preparedness models, to our Bhubaneswar center. and we work with them, and at the time of natural disasters, whenever CYSD operates in the disaster affected areas, they become very handy in working with the communities there. CYSD's strategy, as a strategy, we work with urban poor, we work with the distressed migrant communities, we work with disaster affected communities and the tribal population. And I'm very happy to share that 80% of the people with whom we work are women actually, right? So working with the Adivasi women, working with the small and marginal farmer women is something which we really like, and by doing it we try to deal with some of the gender dimensions of social development work and try as much as possible to balance them. You see, from the beginning itself, as a part of CYSD's strategy, we decided whatever you do, you can only do in limited villages. And it's impossible for an NGO like CYSD, it's impossible for a social development organization like CYSD to address all the problems on the ground. So therefore, we said whatever we do on the ground, we pick up our learnings and we share our learnings with other similar organizations of our kind, our size, and other grassroots organizations, whether they are NGOs or community-based organizations. And by working with them, by helping them to acquire the kind of perspectives, acquire the kind of insights which we have gained over years, they can also do that same thing in their own way. And that is how we can scale up the impact of our work. So we directly work, and we also work with a number of other organizations. And so network building, coalition building, working together with a number of other organizations is the approach of CYSD. Therefore, whatever we do, it has a large scale implications. And second approach of CYSD is we believe that a non-profit organization, a social development organization, because of the resource constraints, can only have limited reach. And there are other players on the ground. Government also is a player, so government has to come in and complement the work of the civil society, and civil society can also supplement the work of the government wherever necessary. There are corporate entities who also operate through CSR. There are community-based organizations. There are local governments like Gram Panchayats, and there are academic institutions. If all of them come together and then there is a multi-stakeholder platform created, then probably the work will be very far-reaching, it will be outcome-oriented, it will be very impactful. And then the outreach also can be larger outreach. So we develop those multi-stakeholder platforms, and especially CYSD works very closely with Odisha Development Initiative, which does Odisha Vikas Conclave once in every second year to identify the critical development issues of the state, set up the priorities, and help all the stakeholders, including the government and civil society, fellow players, to really focus their attention on priority sector work. And by doing it, I'm sure the impact of our intervention can be very powerfully reached. Yeah.